Hey, hello everybody. You're welcome once again to my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is called Femi Diaries, and my channel is all about positive, uplifting content that we can use on a daily basis. I'm back once again with this series called Life Lessons. And I really just kind of felt to bring a guest who is in between, what I would call a transitionary time in our people's lives. We've kind of dealt with people who do business, we've dealt with different other sets of people. But I have a guest today who is fresh out of college and having done his masters and all that, and we want to kind of talk to that population, a population of people from leaving high school all the way to college, freshman, sophomore, going through college, and for those who will want to go in for their masters. What are some of the life lessons that they can learn? What are some of the things that will be beneficial to them, that will add value to their lives? That's kind of what we're going to be talking about today with my guest. So I'm going to introduce him to you right now. He's a family friend, and his name is Ayo. Ayo, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. So, as he said, my name is Ayo Lutare. I'm pretty much just finished my master's and working at a company right now remotely. And I'm glad that Mr. Femi invited me over so that we could give some life lessons.
Yeah, so again, like I said, my intention with Ayo today is to really help people, a lot of younger people who are going from the point of high school to college. What are some of the life lessons they can learn? Also, by the time they get into college, what are some of the things that can add value to their lives that will be beneficial for them to have had someone help them to have seen ahead before they get to that stage? So Ayo, kind of just give us a little bit of a background of what was your experience like from high school going into college? Kind of talk to us a little bit about your experience.
Yeah, man, that's wow. But yeah, so high school to college, I would say first, like for high school, like taking those tests, ACT, SATs. I would suggest like lessons of you can always prepare yourself, but it's so much better to prepare with like some boot camp or some place where you can have a teacher kind of help you out. Maybe take a class during the summer or for a few weeks just to get some practice in. Because practice, as we know, like playing basketball or playing any kind of sport, you want to keep practicing. Playing piano, you want to keep practicing. So I would say that for sure. You would want to do that. And then just like on my way to go start in college, one thing that we did was I actually, with my parents really suggesting to do this, was I took some courses during the summer to try to get rid of some of those general courses that you will have to take. So pretty much taking the calculus, taking the English, taking those, get it out of the way, because community colleges, they tend to be smaller, and we'll get into this more. But when you get into college, classes are so much different, are so much bigger.
So I'm going to ask Ayo to talk, because he's a graduate of the University of Texas. I want him to talk a little bit more, not just on the academics now, but to talk a little bit more about what are some of the things that will help. Now, I heard you say things about them taking some general courses that will help prepare them for college, but what about in terms of the mental preparation? And because life is happening fast for a lot of people now. I know a lot of high school people, they have a lot of emotions. They're into relationships. Some of them, the funny thing about this dispensation and people now is that relationships kind of, because of social media, it hurts people. A lot of people have relationships and they feel hurt. Maybe a girlfriend did something, and those things really kind of affect them mentally in their preparation towards school, whether they will go back to school or whether they want to just go maybe get a job or something. But begin to talk about the mindset of people, not just on the academic front, but what are some of the things that can help people have the right mindset even as they go to this stage of life?
Okay, different mindsets. So I would say for sure one mindset is focus. Just whenever you start college, sometimes for me, I would say my first semester, I wasn't focused, or I didn't put enough effort in that first semester.
Yeah.
So it's coming in like, yeah, high school was fine and easy.
Yeah.
This is a whole different ballgame. This is a whole new league. You have to
kind of break that down. Yeah.
So
what do you mean?
So in high school we can normally ask questions, really get to know the teacher. We're with the teacher a lot longer. It's not like the teacher is on the other side of campus. Like in high school, most of our classes are really close together in one single building, one big building. College, you have a huge campus.
Yeah.
A huge campus, and whenever you take your courses, especially your general courses, they will be all over. So when I say focus, a difference was being able to talk with your teachers. That's gonna be different. Some place teachers might not even they might have office hours, which one I suggest that you go to, but office hours, and sometimes they have teacher assistants that will actually do more of the answering your questions. They will just talk about a subject, and then it's up to you to go to the TA and ask questions. So that's a little different between high school and college. And not being afraid to ask. That's another thing. Do not be afraid to get help, to ask questions. Go to those office hours, because whenever teachers see that, or they see that you're putting in effort. So better than the person who's I'm never gonna go, because when you do, you're not showing, unless you're getting all A's, then fine, I'm not gonna worry about it. But I would suggest, because if something comes up, if something happens, when a teacher sees that, hey, this student has been coming along, I know that student is invested in what he's trying to, or she's trying to learn, and I'm gonna help this kid out, gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. But
so some good advice there Ayo is giving on the academic front. But I want to kind of probe a little further. I want Mr. Ayo to really help our young people, because there's so much distraction out there today. Social media, Snapchat, TikTok, all these different things that are pulling on young people, drugs, friends, parties. How do people who are just, fresh into college, how can they really walk this walk? How did you walk the walk? And again, also, we're really kind of putting into perspective the fact that we're talking also to people who are believers in Christ, because we're doing the video for everybody, but I also want to really address issues with people who are God-fearing, who are Christians, who really want to be able to get ahead and be on top of things. So kind of talk to us about that.
So I would say because I'm a Christian, so one thing for me for sure was finding that community of believers that you can grow with. What tends to happen in college is whenever there are going to be a lot of ministries that will be available to you. And this is a great place to, what you will learn is that there are people who are going through the same struggles as you, and maybe when you were in high school, you were the only person going through with it, or, all that stuff. But in college, you'll start seeing people really hey, let's dig into our faith more. Let's ask those difficult questions about the drugs, about porn, about all that subjects, and learn that, hey, we can't do this battle by ourselves. We can't. We need that community. So first, I would say find a church that you feel comfortable in. I will say find a church that you feel comfortable in, but that they're gonna push you and challenge you, but also encourage you. They know, they have the wisdom of knowing how to approach that. And every person they will vary based on, what kind of church they would want to go to about that. But I would say find that community, that church that can help you out. You'll be amazed of just having that freedom of if you're struggling with something, you can reach out and ask questions and find some like a mentor in the church or something like that that can help you out.
That's good. That's good information for people out there, because again, the whole idea of doing this is really to help people in transition, leaving home and now going into this bigger community out there. And so I also talk to us about a little bit about your experience balancing the academics and the social area, and even being a believer in college. What was that like for you?
So I would say the balance at first, it was difficult, I would say, from other things with big class sizes. Like that first semester that I was in, it was not I would say I felt like I grew in my spirituality, like in my faith, got joined, but the academics was what fell off. So I didn't have that right balance kind of in a way. But as time went on, and this is me transferring to a different college also, because one thing, do not be afraid to move to a different college. It might be a dream that you would go to a specific school.
Right.
But if things don't work out, it's okay to feel sad and all that stuff. I was sad, like it tore me. But move on. Like it's not over.
Explain some of the reasons why you had to make that change.
So that first semester, it was just, I wasn't going to office hours, first off. So I did try to meet with other fellow students to get some help in those areas, but it still wasn't enough for me. Right. The class size was huge, and it was just different. Like, in college, they move a lot quicker in subjects. So a lot quicker. Which is why I say go to community college if you can. But yeah, so that struggle really happened there of just like not being prepared enough or not studying enough for a specific test or, quizzes or whatever like that. Homeworks are fine, but like when you got to the test, that's where and most of the time, you might only have 2 tests. Yeah. So it really counts.
Yeah. The points on each one are heavy.
Very heavy.
Wow.
So yes.
Man, good advice for folks out there. So really, I'm just hearing Mr. Ayo talk a lot in terms of your preparation for college. I'm aware because of some people's home situation before they go to college. Like not everybody come from homes where they're with their parents. Some are in homes with guardians, some are in foster homes, some are in, different kind of particular situations. Give some of those set of people in those kind of situations, give them a little bit of tips on what they could do, to kind of, I know you had already mentioned about community, finding a church, finding a mentor if possible. Now, those mentors, are they like other students on campus?
It could be other students on campus. It could be a person who's already in the industry that can give you a feed. And this is more like when you're junior year, I would say, of like looking for internships and all that stuff. That's a whole different topic. But I would say that was more for that's the case for sure.
That's cool. So, Mr. Ayo, I want you to talk a little bit more now about what are some of the life lessons you had from going through college, and I know you also did your master's. So kind of talk more about the flow of time from your freshman year. What are some of the salient things that you would say you learned that are life lessons? And maybe some of them also have to do with things that if you had a chance to do back, you would have done something different. So kind of talk to people on those levels.
So one, and I think I already kind of talked about this before, never be afraid to go find help for certain subjects, all that stuff. In terms of Christianity, building your faith, find those church groups that really push you. Because there's certain things that I don't tend to like as much, like small groups and all that stuff. Depending on the subjects, I'd be like, maybe just stay in the regular service. But find those places that make you uncomfortable. Knowing your, like, yes, know your boundaries and know your, you know,
your
limits. But don't be afraid to stretch yourself a bit and, you know, experience something different from, you know, because I grew up in more of like, hey, we never really had small groups. It was always like just a 30 people in youth. That was my church size, like 30 people in youth. We never split up. So like going into this whole split up with like 4 other people, and that was a different thing for me, for sure, and just having to adjust to that. But yeah.
That's good, that's good. So I will give parents some tips. If you were to give parents tips, parents who have kids who are right about there right now to go to college, what are some of the things you'll be saying to those parents right now? Now, not just to prepare them for academics, but for life, because there are lots of kids, they've heard all these stories about the excitement of being on college, how wild the parties are, you know, all the different fraternities and all these different things, and they're so excited. And I've heard of cases where people just go wild and get into trouble, and some of them end up in jail, some of them end up hurt, you know, in the hospital, because they have this liberty they've never had before. Really kind of talk to parents at this time. What are some of the things that parents should be looking at in kind of saying to their kids as they prepare to go to college?
So I'd say I would say to make sure that you give them knowledge of like, okay, yes, be active in your college, all that stuff, but know the boundary. If you're against a specific like fraternities or I would say just share that with your kid. Maybe share the reason why you're against this. Some parents might never say why.
Right.
So I would say if you have concerns about certain subjects, like sit down with your kid and really try to explain why you feel feel concerned about this position or whatever. And just like, I'd also say that whenever they get to the point of like, okay, I'm getting closer to a job pick, for example, push them to go get internships. Like, go work in the industry for a little bit, just so that you get your feet wet. So you see if you like that position, see if you like that job. Your first 2 years, you're more not even taking any of your major courses, you're just taking general courses. So whenever you get into the junior year and all that stuff, and even with the freshman sophomore year when you're taking general courses, it doesn't hurt to like, okay, if you want to do IT, there's some times where they will let you, some companies will let you go between different positions, like a software developer or just like an IT support person, and get to see how the world is like, see what a product manager does, or like all that stuff around, to get like a more general feel of what a position would be like. So that's another thing. I would say encourage your kids to take advantage of internships.
That's good.
Another thing is, yes, we all have our dreams of what subject we want to chase for. Not every thing that we want to chase for will be beneficial to us in the long run.
It might not even be a fit.
It might not be a fit. So, like, one thing that my parents did, for sure, was they looked, what was the job outlook for specific majors? Like, what jobs can you find? Because you know, I would say most of us normally have to get student loans and all that stuff. So if that's the case, we need to find something that is gonna pay back, one that we can find a job easily. Because me, for example, I wanted to be a meteorologist. As I said, I'm a software developer. So you see that things have changed. But like, the issue with meteorology is, look at a job post for a meteorologist, like an entry meteorologist. 23,000 salary, like that's your. You can't live off that. You can't, like,
and you still have to pay back loans.
And you got to pay back loans and everything. And I know this might hurt because it hurt me. Of like, hey, I can't just That's sad. You know, my parents were like, don't give up on the hobby. Continue with your hobby that you
Right.
like this, but don't. Maybe you might be able to twist it in a different way using what you're gonna learn in college.
Yeah.
So I would say, look at the job outlook. See what jobs are will be paid at. And actually, speaking of that, take an aptitude test. Like, take a
Yes.
test that will show, okay, I'm taking this test, and then after this test, here's some jobs that they recommend
Yeah.
that I can do, or majors
You're
that I
talking
do.
about like something like the Maya and Briggs kind of
Right.
thing,
Mhm.
stuff like that.
Stuff like that.
Mhm.
That's another thing I would say for parents to actually do is have your kid or kids take those kind of tests. So see where their strengths are.
Yeah.
So then and go through and if you find some resources that you can actually get a head start on, do that. That's what happened for me. It was computer science was one of them for me.
Yeah.
So my parents were like, okay, let's just do. There was a website called code.org,
Yeah.
and just going through there and just learning how to taking little things and learning how to program. So if whenever you find some matches, and most of the time they give you a huge swath. Like I had computer science, computer engineer,
Yeah.
nuclear scientist,
Yeah.
like all that
And you
stuff.
now have to kind of find your way through,
Choose.
find a niche.
And of course, meteorology was there, so I'm like, it fit me, but this is not gonna work out. And this took the point of the kid being obedient
Yeah.
and listening to the advice of the parent of like, okay, I will go after this computer science instead of another.
That's so good. That's so good. So I want us to kind of zero down now on more of the other things that people who are at this stage of life, they want to be in a relationship, they want money, people are already thinking about how to make money. The academics is there, they want to do all this other stuff. How were you able to navigate all that and still focus on your academics? Because I know, whatever the parents give is really not enough, and people are beginning to think, okay, if I do this, I can make some extra money. And those things could become distractions.
Right. So I would say, when finding a job for the hours that you decide to choose, look at your class schedule.
Yeah.
See what your class schedule is. When you do this class schedule, then maybe just go to your, the job positions whenever you get accepted or something like that, and see, hey, how can I arrange your hours to fit my hours so that I can work part-time or something like that. We had a rule in my house where the only jobs I would do is that was dealing with computer science, my major. So that's where the internships in the summer, but then also finding positions during the school year that I can still practice some
So
industry.
how many hours a week were you doing?
So I was doing 20 hours.
Wow,
Some was 20 hours a week. Some was, I think actually 20. Computer science is interesting because they would be like, okay, just work this many hours.
Yeah.
But I didn't have to go in Monday through Friday. It was remote for me.
Okay.
So your results will vary.
Okay.
I would say the disclaimer on that part.
Yeah.
But I would say, but it was still a lot of hours. So it was do you take, because most of the time you have a range. You either take 12 hours or 21 credit hours. I don't know. 12 hours I think is 4 courses.
Right.
15,
Right.
5, all that stuff.
20.
You're 20. So if you need to pay for stuff, I would say don't be afraid, and I know this might scare people, don't be afraid if it takes you an extra semester.
Yeah.
If you need money to meet,
Yeah.
maybe take the 12 hours,
Yeah.
and then...
And really, on the long run, I realize that people are able to have better grades sometimes when they're able to kind of go at a pace that they can manage.
Because I know, for me, they were pushing 19 hours, so that's 6 courses.
Yeah.
If you already know that you kind of struggle with time management, I would say do the pushback to 15. Make sure you're still a full-time student, because you will lose some benefits if you don't do that. But if you know for yourself that, okay, I'm not good at managing my time, I would say go to the minimum full time. So that, okay, you taking 4 courses and you're full time. That would be better management for you than taking 6 courses that will just
kind of
boggle. And when you try to focus on one, then will another one slip? And like, so I would say, yeah, if you're trying to make ends meet, I would say go for the, okay, let's work part-time somewhere and let's take 12 hours and go through that way. Actually, if you have to work full-time, I would say check with your school to see how long you can stay before they, you have to finish within a certain time. I think bachelor's, that's actually more laid back.
Yes.
So for bachelor's, I would say if you do have to work full time and then do school part time. I think that would be my suggestion or my wisdom of if you're not sure if you can be a full time student, because if you're working, then most likely you have healthcare and all that stuff, so you don't have to worry about that. So, but granted, you're below 26, so you'll be under your parents' plan too. For some people. So, but this is for the people who might not have a parent or one parent and struggling, and they have to pay because of tuition, all that stuff. Also scholarships.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that it just did my
scholarships, grants. Yes.
Go for as many scholarships as you can. It doesn't hurt. You normally know how you're gonna have to pay. So one of the things I've learned through this whole is you might doubt yourself saying, "Oh, I can't do this. I can't do that." So thus you don't even try to put in that application. The thing is, the worst thing that they can say is no.
Yes.
If you're throwing your hat into it, you have a chance of getting something. Then if you don't throw your hat in at all,
especially all those extra foundations and all this private scholarships that people offer.
And so, and also just for the college that you go to, you could go to a HBCU school. There will be some more experiences that you can get, and you'll see so many people who look like you, who are teaching, and that can give you that encouragement, especially if you grew up in a place where you didn't have that situation. So I would say, go to your HBCU schools. Those tuitions are much lower. Don't or if anything, go to a community college, because in regular college, you're going to be taking your general courses anyway. So if you do community college, so much cheaper, and you take your courses and you transfer.
They're transferable.
So actually, I would suggest that for people who might be struggling for sure, like with money and all that stuff.
So much cheaper.
Do community college instead, and take care of those courses. So then whenever you do decide to transfer, you already took care of all those courses that you could care less about. I'm being honest. That you could care less about. And some of the courses that, of course, like calculus for me, it was important. But going to a community college was much more manageable. And teachers had more time for you than going to a 4-year college for sure. So
that's so good. All right, so just in kind of rounding up, so talk just generally, are there any specific things you want to, in terms of life lessons you want to leave with our viewers, with our audience who've been watching this video? Anything else that you may have not mentioned yet that might be, really helpful to parents or the students, who are preparing for life outside the home?
So,
and again, with all the stuff going on with virtual learning now, and it was an option before, but now most schools are having to do more things virtually now.
So, speaking of virtual, when you're in class virtually, put your cell phone somewhere else. Just put it in the other room. If it's right beside you, you can say, "Oh, I'm not paying attention to it," but Next thing you know, you're gonna just go up and put on TikTok and just not pay attention.
Yeah.
So I'd say put your phone, whenever you're in class, put your phone in the other room.
Yeah.
Actively take notes.
Yeah.
Go through. In terms of Christian, your faith.
Right.
I would say one prayer that my dad was always told me is pray for favor. Yeah. Ask God for favor. Ask God for wisdom.
Yeah.
Of like, it's amazing how many good things have happened thanks to my parents' prayers and me praying. Of ask God for that favor. Ask God to open steps. Yeah. Some of the weirdest thing that's happened to me was finding a t-shirt, like deciding between two clothes. Yeah. One was just a regular t-shirt. One had forgiven for KB or something like that with 116 and all that stuff. Yeah. And I'm just like, guys like saying, pick that up. Yeah. Next thing you know, a class gets canceled. So I go to a different room that I normally never go. And I meet one of my closest friends now. Yeah. Back then. And like that would have never happened first if I didn't wear that shirt. Wow. Because the reason why he called me out was like, dude, I know this anime, I know this KB, and that's how we
and those are artists. Those are hip hop artists.
Right. Mm-hmm. So that's how we and those are Christian artists too. So those were the one that was a way for me to get. So especially if you're a Christian and you have a pool of hey, should I wear to the smallest things? Yeah. Listen to what God says. Listen to what God's urging you to do, or be mindful of what He's urging you to do. Because it's amazing because the good things of that, and the bad things of you end up getting in a car accident, which happened to me, was God told me to go one way, and I just kept going. I didn't listen, and next thing you know, car accident. So I would say be really mindful of, and not saying that it's gonna be that bad, but be mindful of what God's tugging to you and all that stuff. For sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And a lot of that will happen, being prayerful as people are being prayerful. Man, we've had fun. We've been talking here with Ayo, a graduate of University of Texas, and he also, what was your master's degree in?
I was in computer science also.
It was in computer science also. And the whole idea of this presentation today is just to kind of help students and help parents as they prepare their kids for life outside the home. In the past, I've done some other life lesson videos, but I just felt it necessary to also do a life lesson video for people at this stage of life, just giving them a few tips, a few things that could really be helpful to them. I'm sure this has added some value to your life today, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Ayo, do you have a last comment?
Actually, one more thing. I'm gonna give Mr. Femi some links. Yeah. So that you guys can look at some resources. Yes. And be able to, help you out in this journey. So I'll make sure to pass that on.
So it's been good talking with you guys. I will see you guys in the next video.